Tom Sullivan, 54, leaned back in his worn leather recliner, the faint hum of the evening news filling the living room. The scent of rosemary and garlic wafted from the kitchen where his wife Diane was preparing roast chicken, same as every Thursday for the past 20 years. Their suburban home in Maple Grove, Minnesota was a testament to their life together. Framed photos of their two grown kids, Ryan and Emily, lined the mantel, alongside a faded Polaroid from their 1989 honeymoon in Door County. Life wasn't perfect, but it was steady, predictable, safe. Tom ran a hand through his thinning gray hair, his calloused fingers a reminder of his 30 years as a union electrician. He'd built a good life, paid off the house, coached Ryan's Little League, and took Diane dancing at the VFW hall every month. At 52, Diane still turned heads with her warm hazel eyes and quick laugh, though lately her smiles felt rehearsed, her kisses perfunctory. That night, as they ate dinner, Diane's phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it, then flipped it, face down, her fork pausing midair. Tom noticed, but said nothing. She'd been doing that a lot lately, checking her phone, then tucking it away like a guilty secret. "Work's been crazy," she'd say when he asked, her voice tight. He'd nod, trusting her, always trusting her. After dinner, Tom cleared the plates while Diane retreated to the den to catch up on emails. He was rinsing a wine glass when her phone, left on the counter, lit up with a text. The name Mark flashed across the screen, followed by, "Missed you today." "Same time tomorrow?" Tom froze, the dishwater dripping from his hands. His chest tightened, a cold weight settling in his gut. Mark. He knew the name. Diane's new co-worker at the real estate agency, the one she'd mentioned casually over coffee a few months back. "He's helping me with the new listings," she'd said, her eyes not quite meeting his. Tom's mind raced. Why was Mark texting her at 8 p.m.? Why did he miss her? He dried his hands, heart pounding, and picked up the phone. Diane's passcode was their anniversary, 092389. The screen unlocked, revealing a thread of messages that made his knees buckle. "You looked gorgeous in that red dress. Can't stop thinking about last night. Tom won't suspect a thing." The glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the tile. Diane rushed in, her face paling as she saw the phone in his grip. "Tom, what's wrong?" He held up the phone, his voice trembling with a mix of rage and disbelief. "Who the hell is Mark, Diane, and why's he texting you about last night?" Her eyes widened, lips parting, but no words came. The silence was louder than any confession. Tom barely slept that night, exiled to the guest room while Diane sobbed in their bedroom, promising to explain everything tomorrow. His mind churned with images of Diane with another man, laughing, touching, lying. By morning, his shock had hardened into a simmering fury. He wasn't going to let her control the narrative. At 6 a.m., he called his old friend Mike, a retired cop who'd seen it all. Over coffee at a greasy diner, Tom spilled everything, his voice raw. Mike listened, then leaned forward, his gravelly voice low. "You need proof, Tom. Don't confront her until you've got something solid. People lie when they're cornered." Tom spent the next 3 days playing detective. He noticed the clues he'd missed before. Diane's sudden interest in yoga classes she never came home sweaty from, the new perfume she wore, the way she'd started locking her phone. He checked their joint bank account online and found charges at a boutique hotel in St. Paul, dates that aligned with her, late nights at the office. Each discovery was a knife to the heart, but he kept digging, fueled by a need to know the full extent of her betrayal. On the 4th day, he borrowed Mike's pickup and parked across from Diane's real estate office. At 5 p.m., she emerged, her hair loose, wearing a skirt he didn't recognize. A man in a tailored blazer, Mark, he presumed, followed her, his hand brushing her lower back as they walked to a sleek Audi. Tom's grip tightened on the steering wheel as they drove off. He followed at a distance, his pulse hammering, until they pulled into the same boutique hotel from the bank statements. He sat in the truck, watching them disappear inside, his world collapsing. He snapped a photo of their cars in the lot, the timestamp glaring on his phone. 5:47 p.m. It wasn't enough to just know. He needed her to admit it. That night, Tom waited in the living room, the photo on his phone burning a hole in his pocket. Diane walked in at 9 p.m., her face flushed, claiming she'd been showing a property. The lie was so effortless it made his skin crawl. "Sit down, Diane," he said, his voice low, controlled. She hesitated, sensing the storm brewing, but sat on the couch, clutching her purse. He slid the phone across the coffee table, the hotel photo glaring up at her. Care to explain this? Her face crumpled, but she tried to deflect. Tom, it's not what you think. Mark and I were just... Stop lying, he roared, standing so fast the table shook. I saw you with him. I read the texts. How long, Diane? How long have you been screwing around behind my back? She flinched, tears welling, but her voice was defiant. You don't understand, Tom. You're always working, always tired. Mark listens to me. He makes me feel alive. The words hit like a sledgehammer. Alive? I've given you everything. 30 years, this house, our kids. And you throw it away for some slick bastard who listens? His voice cracked, anger giving way to hurt. Was I that bad, Diane? Was I not enough? She sobbed, shaking her head. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. Tom turned away, unable to look at her. Get out, he said quietly. Pack a bag and go. I can't be in the same house as you right now. Fix this, he spun back, eyes blazing. You broke us, Diane. You broke me. Get out. She left, her suitcase wheels clicking on the hardwood. The door closed, and Tom sank onto the couch, the silence deafening. He didn't cry, not yet, but the rage burned hotter than ever. The next week was a blur of practicalities and pain. Tom hired a divorce lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Karen who warned him Minnesota's no-fault divorce laws meant Diane would likely get half of everything. The house, the savings, his pension, it all felt like salt in the wound. He moved into a small apartment near his job site, the sterile walls, a stark contrast to the home he'd built. Ryan and Emily, both in their late 20s, were devastated but torn. Ryan, a construction foreman like his dad, sided with Tom, his loyalty fierce. She's my mom, but what she did is unforgivable, he said over beers at a dive bar. Emily, a nurse in Minneapolis, was quieter, torn between her love for both parents. She's sorry, Dad, Emily said, her eyes pleading. Can't you at least talk to her? Tom shook his head, the betrayal too raw. His buddies at the Union Hall rallied around him, their gruff support a lifeline. Mike, ever the pragmatist, suggested Tom even the score. Tom wasn't interested in affairs, but he wanted justice. He remembered Diane's pride in her career, her reputation as a top realtor. If she thought she could ruin his life and walk away unscathed, she was wrong. Tom contacted Diane's boss, a family friend named Greg, and laid out the affair, providing the hotel receipts and texts. Greg was stunned but promised to handle it. A week later, Diane was demoted to administrative work, her listings reassigned. She called Tom, furious. You told Greg, you're trying to destroy me. You destroyed us, Tom shot back. You don't get to play the victim. He didn't stop there. Mark, he learned, was married with 2 kids. Tom tracked down Mark's wife, Laura, through a mutual acquaintance. Over coffee, he shared the evidence, his voice steady despite the pain. Laura's face hardened, and within days, Mark was served divorce papers at the agency, his humiliation public. Diane called again, her voice shaking. You've ruined everything, Tom. Are you happy now? The betrayal rippled outward, fracturing their social circle. Mutual friends picked sides, some ghosting Tom, others inviting him to barbecues to, quote, get his mind off things. His sister, Linda, a retired Pittsburgh therapist, drove up from Iowa to stay with him, her presence a quiet comfort. You're stronger than you think, Tommy, she said, squeezing his hand. You'll get through this. The kids struggled most. Ryan distanced himself from Diane, his calls with her short and strained. Emily tried to mediate, hosting a tense family dinner where Diane apologized through tears. Tom listened, his jaw tight, but her words felt hollow. I'm sorry, couldn't undo the images in his head. Diane and Mark laughing at his expense. At the VFW hall, where Tom and Diane once danced to Sinatra, he now sat alone, nursing a whiskey. Old friends like Pete, a retired firefighter, clapped his shoulder. You're better off, Sully. She didn't deserve you. But the words didn't ease the ache. The community he'd known for decades felt split, some whispering about Diane's affair, others avoiding the topic entirely. Tom's anger fueled him, but it was exhausting. He started seeing a therapist, a gruff ex-Marine named Dr. Walsh, who pushed him to face his emotions. "You're not just mad at her," Walsh said. "You're mad at yourself for not seeing it. Let that go, Tom. It's not your fault." Months passed, and Tom's rage began to ebb. Replaced by a quiet determination to rebuild, he threw himself into work, taking on extra jobs to cover legal fees. He joined a local hiking group, the crisp Minnesota air clearing his head. On one hike, he met Sarah, a 50-year-old widow with a dry wit and kind eyes. She'd lost her husband to cancer 5 years earlier and understood grief in a way few others did. Their friendship grew slowly. Coffee dates, long talks about life's highs and lows. Sarah wasn't Diane. She was steady, honest, her laughter genuine. One evening, over burgers at a lakeside diner, she reached for his hand. "You're a good man, Tom. Don't let her take that from you." He hesitated, the fear of trust lingering. But Sarah's patience wore down his walls. They started dating, taking it slow. Walks by Lake Harriet, movie nights with her golden retriever sprawled across their laps. She didn't push, didn't demand. She just was, a safe harbor after the storm. Tom's relationship with his kids strengthened too. Ryan invited him to help renovate his new fixer-upper, their banter over power tools a balm. Emily, now engaged, asked Tom to walk her down the aisle. At her wedding, Diane was there, subdued, her eyes red-rimmed. Tom nodded politely but kept his distance, his heart no longer hers to break. A year after the divorce, Tom stood in his apartment, now filled with new furniture and photos of hikes with Sarah. He'd bought a small cabin up north, a place to fish and clear his mind. As he packed for a weekend there with Sarah, his phone buzzed. A text from Diane. "I'm sorry, Tom. I hope you're happy." He stared at the message, then deleted it. Her apologies couldn't change the past, but they no longer defined his future. He grabbed his duffel bag, whistled for Sarah's dog, and headed out, the weight of betrayal lifting with each step toward a new life. 2 years later, Tom and Sarah stood on the cabin's porch, watching the sunrise over the lake. They weren't married. Neither felt the need for a ring, but they were partners, their trust hard-earned and fiercely guarded. Ryan and Emily visited often, their laughter filling the cabin. Diane had moved to Minneapolis, dating a quiet accountant who seemed to steady her. Tom wished her well, from a distance. As the sun crested the horizon, Sarah leaned against him, her warmth grounding. "You ever think about how far you've come?" she asked. He wasn't the man he'd been before the betrayal. He was stronger, wiser, his heart open but guarded. The pain had shaped him, but it hadn't broken him. And as Sarah's hand found his, he knew he was finally home.